It is said that first step taken is half the battle won. These simple words carry a profound meaning because it is always the beginning of anything that is the most challenging part. Beginning means leaving the old and the familiar and entering into the new and the unfamiliar. And anything new creates fear because with the old we are safe. This is why we go on dreaming, but to actually start a thing needs real courage. And there is another point. With the old and the familiar, we can remain unconscious. We don't have to make a conscious effort with the old, with the familiar, with the known. Take, for example, when we start learning a vehicle, in the beginning we are very conscious. We are aware of the movement of the body. We are aware of the movement of the vehicle. We are so cautious. We feel everything, the pressure on the accelerator, the pressure on the brake, everything. We are so alert because there might be an accident, because vehicle is new, you don't know it properly, so there is all the possibility that you may fall and hurt yourself. But as the time passes, the same vehicle becomes familiar to you. We get used, and once we get used, we fall asleep. How many of us ever realize, ever feel that we are actually driving? The whole process of driving becomes so mechanical. It becomes mechanical because we are not conscious, we are not aware of the very process. And we all love to be asleep because to be conscious is an effort. Now, if we look at our spiritual life, we see that it is very dull. It is almost dead for most of us. It is not even alive. The reason is inertia. We are caught in an inertia. We do not want movement. Inertia, scientifically speaking, is a state, is a property which makes a thing stay still. Or if it is in motion, it simply goes on. It is hard to control. It does not stop, in fact. This is what inertia does. And if we apply this principle to our own lives, we see that inertia causes stagnation in our life. And this inertia is present in all the dimensions of our lives. We are inert physically, we are inert mentally and spiritually as well. Starting with physical inertia. Most of us realize that we need to be very conscious of our own bodies. We have to take good care of our bodies, that we must have proper physical activity, workout, some kind of exercise, yoga, some kind of physical labor to keep the body fit and fine. Most of us suffer from diseases that demand that we take our lifestyle very seriously, that we live consciously. There are people suffering from BP, diabetes, and endless diseases. And we are advised to get up early in the morning, to go for a walk, to eat proper food, to sit properly, to sleep properly. And we go on overlooking these very important advices. And we are so good at making excuses. We go on planning. Maybe I'll start from June, maybe I'll start from summer. Oh, let the summer pass. Let the winter come. The winter is the best season for exercise. And in winter it is too cold to go out. It is too hard to get out of the bed. Then rainy season. Sometimes there are rains, so you cannot get out. Sometimes it is cloudy, sometimes it is very humid. And we go on making these excuses. These excuses come from inertia. We have become so used to a certain pattern of living. We have created such habits that those do not allow us to see that immediate changes are required. We go on wondering that we take resolutions, we promise ourselves, we make commitments to ourselves, and everything fails. Nothing ever works. The reason? The reason is stagnation, inertia. If you have not run for a long time, and if you try running, say 2 kilometers or 3 kilometers, what happens? You feel pain all over your body because the muscles and the joints, they had forgotten, they had kind of rusted. And this rusting causes all the pain, because then you have to, your limbs, your muscles, your joints, they have to leave the old and the familiar, and they have to enter into the new. Stretching and bending because you don't do it on a daily basis, and then one day suddenly when you try this, you are going to suffer. It is very obvious. And once you suffer, you start feeling that it is better to be what you are. You start believing that all the changes cause problems. It is not the change that causes problem. It is inertia. Over a period of time, your body had lost all kind of movements. So all of a sudden it cannot recover. It needs time. I have seen many obese people. They know obesity is going to cause them serious problems, but they just can't help it. They have means, they have time, and they have need above all for a good workout. They just can't help it. Inertia. Inertia is the root. From physical, when we move to the mental level, mental inertia, we see that even mentally we are stagnant. We have got some sets of beliefs, some ideas about one thing or the other, and we go on living with those ideas forever. We follow one political party or the other. We belong to one society or the other. We are the followers of one religion or the other. And all this gives us a certain set of ideas, and we cling to them so fast that no matter how much we suffer, and in fact this suffering which is caused by mental inertia, this suffering which is caused by our non-acceptance of the change of life, this suffering we start calling sacrifice. We believe we are sacrificing ourselves for a good cause. So we just try to console ourselves by this labeling, by cheating ourselves, by calling our suffering sacrifice. And it is not only about institutions, about communities, our opinions about people also. They too never change. If we have got a certain idea of somebody, most often we never change that. This is also a form of inertia, remember. And mental inertia is more harmful than physical inertia. Because with the physical inertia, at least we realize that we have to make certain changes. Because with the physical inertia, it is not a matter of pride, it is not a matter of ego. We do feel that we are lazy, this is why we cannot do it. And our laziness causes us serious harm, that too we realize. So at least there is something that we observe. that unhealthy food causes diseases, and those diseases at least warn us that we have to make changes. Those diseases, because they are apparent, they can be detected. But mental diseases, they are hardly visible, they are hardly noticeable. And when I say mental diseases, I am not talking about psychological diseases, I am talking about ideological diseases. Ideological problems. So, with the mind, things are abstract, invisible. So, we are not aware how this ideological inertia is harming us. And when we move to spiritual inertia, things become more stagnant because they are more abstract. So much so that we sometimes doubt whether there is something called a spiritual dimension or not. We start denying its very existence. And spiritual dimension is the most vital aspect of human existence. And the most vital existence, it looks as if it does not exist. So with the mind, at least, you know that you have got some idea about one thing or the other, you belong to one political party or the other, and you can become conscious, you can at least start contemplating, reflecting. But when it comes to a spiritual aspect, we don't have even a distant idea what it is. There are people who call that we are made of matter only. There is nothing spiritual. All spirituality is just theological nonsense at worst, or mere speculation at best. So how can we ever enter into something whose existence itself is in doubt? So as a result, we feel that it is just a waste of time talking about spiritualism, talking about those mysterious truths, talking about those ultimate elements of human or universal reality. And it is better if we reject, so that at least we get rid of the very idea. But the problem comes when we accept also, but we do not want to experience it. The worst pain in human life is that you know something can give you joy, you know something can give you peace, but you cannot try this. This is the worst thing. So truly, materialist people are happier than fake spiritualists, because materialists have rejected. So they don't miss it. They don't feel the lack. But the false spiritualists who just talk, who just dream, who just plan, who do not want to enter into the spiritual dimension. They do not want to dive into the spiritual river. They just go on standing on the bank and just planning that on one fine day they would jump into the river. This is the greatest suffering, because you know there is something there in the depths of the river, but you do not want to enter. There are people who have been asking me questions about life, about love, about death, and so many things. And for years they have been asking. They just love words. They do not want experience. Yes, questions are good. At least one who asks questions, he is curious. And curiosity is a sign of liveliness. At least a questioner is better than those who are gullible, who are credulous, who accept everything without any thought at all. So questioning is good. But it is not everything. Questioning is beginning. It is not the end. Experience is the end. But very few people ever want to experience things. They just love wordplay. And this wordplay is also a product of inertia. Because we are familiar with the language, we are familiar with words, we don't know silence. So with the language we feel safe. With silence there may be trouble. So we do not want to enter into silence. Too many questions are simply a device to avoid silence. Existence is all the time making us aware, supplying us things that we need on the spiritual path. We are getting opportunity, but because of our inertia, we lose them. Inertia is a kind of blindness. We fail to see things. They are there, just there. We have to open our eyes. Inertia is a kind of blindfold that we put on our own eyes. Remember, spiritual journey is a journey of awakening. Spiritual journey is a journey of consciousness, of being aware. And the first thing that we all need to be aware of, the very first thing, is that we are spiritually inert, passive, and we have to get out of it. We have to break out of this passivity, this cage of passivity, and all changes come from only one thing in life, that is awareness. Once you are aware, you are ready to learn. The spiritual beauty is incomparable, but it is indescribable too. It is a path, it is a dimension full of uncertainty. Nothing can be predicted. Nothing can be forecast about the spiritual weather. You have to take courage. After all, it is your own life. After all, you have to make life meaningful, because a meaningless life is no better than death. And this meaninglessness comes because we are spiritually in coma. Be conscious. Come out of this coma, and you will see how much is there to live, how much there is there to experience, and all those beautiful experiences can be lived only when we are conscious. So be aware of this spiritual inertia and come out of it.